Welcome class. How are you all? I hope you have studied well lesson number 4. Now let's begin a new chapter, chapter number 5, plant reproduction. In this, you will study sexual reproduction in plants, dispersal of seeds, and vegetative reproduction in plants. So before starting this chapter, we will study by seeing a video and understanding what is pollination and fertilization. Reproductive parts in a flower. As you have studied, male reproductive part stamen and female reproductive part carpel. In some flowers contain male and female reproductive parts. Such flowers are called bisexual flowers. Pea and China rose are the examples of these. And some flowers possess either the male or the female reproductive parts. Such flowers are called unisexual flowers or monosexual flowers. Corn and cucumber are the examples of these. Stamen and carpel, they are the male and female part of a flower. In stamen, you have studied anther, filament, and in anther, there are pollen grains which contain 2 male gametes. Then you have studied in carpel. Carpel is divided into 3 parts. Number 1 is stigma, then it is divided into style, and the last is ovary. Inside the ovary, you have studied there are ovules, and inside the ovules there are female gamete egg cell. The process of fertilization in plants when the male gamete fuses with the female gamete and the zygote is formed. So this is what you will study. Pollen grains having male gamete and ovule contains female gamete. The pollination, the transfer of male gamete from the stamen of a flower to the stigma of the same or the other flower is called pollination. In pollination, you have studied 2 types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. So this is what self-pollination is done, the stamen and stigma of same flower, and this is how cross-pollination occurs of different flower. Pollen goes to the different stigma. Then you have studied agents of pollination, wind, water, and insect. So pollination, when after pollination the pollen grains germinates in the stigma, a pollen tube, and it goes through the style, then enters into the ovary, and in the ovary they transfer the male gamete in the egg cell, and the fertilization occurs and a zygote formation is done. And after zygote formation there is a embryo germinates. As you can see how an embryo germinates, and you know embryo is a baby plant, and this is how seed formation is done. So after this, the plant, the flowers, petals and sepals all separate and they wither off, and the seed is formed inside a fruit. So this is how a baby plant is born inside a seed. Let's warm up. Look at the drawing and color it. Identify and name the male and female reproductive parts of flower. Name the parts that are involved in pollination. So as you know, male reproductive part is stamen, female reproductive part is carpel, which you have already studied. Now we will move on to the chapter. We learned about different parts of a flower and pollination in previous chapter. In pollination, the pollen grains reach the stigma of the flower. Now, can you tell what happens after pollination has occurred? Once the pollination is successful, the next step is fertilization. in fertilization, the male gamete in the pollen grains fuses with the female gamete inside the ovary. This type of reproduction that involves fusion of male and female gamete is called sexual reproduction. Let us discuss about types of plant reproduction. So plant is having two types of reproduction. One is asexual and second is sexual. In higher plants, this asexual reproduction is called vegetative reproduction. So as you can see, it is divided into two parts: sexual reproduction and vegetative or asexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction contains the fusion of male and female gametes, normally which is happening in fertilization. So in this, new plants grow from seeds. Seeds are found inside within the fruits, and fruits are formed from flowers. If you see, this is a picture of a tomato plant. In that, a matured plant where tomato are growing, you can see inside the fruit there are small seeds. When these seeds are dried and sown with proper nourishment in the soil, the new young plant germinates. So this is a life cycle of a plant which is having sexual reproduction. So three major steps are there. Number one is pollination, second is fertilization, and there is seed or fruit formation. So fruit and seed together are formed, and inside the fruit there are seed. Inside the seed there are embryo. Now let us understand what is fertilization. So fertilization is a step between pollination and seed formation. The fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is called fertilization. So in this there is some of the points which you have to remember. How it germinates, what is the process of it. So the process is the pollen grains germinate on the stigma and pollen tubes develop. The pollen tubes grow downwards into the style as you can see in the picture, and then it reaches to the ovary. It reaches to the ovary. The pollen tubes also they are the carriers of male gamete. Okay, the pollen tube grow downwards into the style and they carry the male gamete and enters in the ovule where egg cell is present. Finally, the male gamete fuses with the female gamete. This is complete fertilization in a plant. Next, you will study about formation of seed. Do you know what happens to the flower after fertilization? Following are some changes in a flower after fertilization. Number one, flower loses its bright color. The sepals, petals, stamen are withering off, they fall off. The ovary increases in size and becomes fruit. The ovary wall becomes the fruit wall, and inside the ovary the ovules develop into seed. So this is also a question, and it will come when we do question answers. Then you have another observation in a kidney bean. Okay, at home you have enjoyed these kidney bean, rajma. Okay, that you can observe and understand where is the cotyledons, what are the shoot and baby root, okay, in a seed. This is how the picture look like, and you can see the baby embryo inside. inside a seed. Okay. Then you have dispersal of seeds, how it is dispersed. Okay. What will happen if the seed fall and start growing beneath the parent plant? If all the seeds fall and start growing beneath the parent plant, they will be overcrowded and will not be able to be getting proper sunlight, water and other nutrients also. Therefore, seed must be scattered over a wide area to grow properly. Okay, so baby plant needs space and nutrient and proper condition like sunlight and water for proper growth. The process of scattering of seeds from the parent plant is called seed dispersal. Dispersal of seed occurs in various ways. They may be carried to far off places through wind, water, insect and animals. These are called agents of dispersal. Some plants expel seeds explosively. Okay, as you can see in this picture, through air, through water, through explosion and through animals, this dispersal of seeds occur. How the seeds are dispersed and what are the examples? If you have seen a cotton plant or a dandelion, here you can see a dandelion picture is shown. You might have observed in your daily life. So the seeds are very dry and they are very small and light in weight, and they are huge in number so that they can be dispersed easily by wind. So there are also drumsticks, maple. They have wing-like structure. They are also very light in weight, but they have wings. With the help of wind, they can be blown to very far area so that they are dispersed properly and they can grow easily. So this is some of the example of wind dispersal. Then seed dispersal by water. Lotus and coconut are some of the example. In lotus, the seeds are spongy light. Okay, so the seeds are spongy and they can float easily on the water. In coconut, they have fibrous coat which helps them to float on the waters. So coconut is having fibrous coat. So coconut is having fibrous coat which helps them to be carried by water easily. So here it is dispersal of seed by animals. Let us see the fruits of some plants such as tiger claw and xanthium have hook-like structures. Okay, as you can see in the picture, tiger claw, how it look like. Okay, hook is there. Okay, xanthium also, hooks are there which stick to the fur of animals or clothes of human beings and they are carried away. Some plants have juicy fruits and animals and birds eat them. Okay, so animals, they pass these seeds through the gut, okay, through the digestive system. They excrete them and the seeds grow to various places. Okay, this is how birds and animals are also helping in dispersal of seeds. Then you have some of the example as guava and tomato. Okay, guava, okay, they have some of the seeds which are undigested. They are not digested, they can be released through the digestive system, they can be excreted out. Okay, here you can see in the picture xanthium and tiger claw. The picture shows they have hook-like structure. They have hook-like structure. Okay, they can be carried away on the fur of the animal or on the clothes of human also. Explosion in seeds helping in dispersal. The fruits of okra and geranium and poppy burst open when they ripen. The seeds are automatically scattered through explosion. Then some important fact about squirrels. Squirrels bury seeds to eat during winter. Sometimes squirrels forget where they had buried. These squirrels, they forget where they have buried these seeds, and during this season of spring they sprout and they form germination. They germinate into a new plant. So this is how squirrels are also helping in building up a forest and a grassland. Vegetative reproduction. In vegetative reproduction, new plants are grown from the vegetative parts of the plant, such as roots, stems, and leaves. Growing plants from stem, let's understand. In such cases, stems having buds on them can be cut from the mother plant and planted after removing the leaves. Do you understand why their leaves are removed? Let me tell you, leaves are doing photosynthesis. Okay, they are also helping in transpiration, means they are giving out water also, excessive water also. Okay, they are taking oxygen, taking carbon dioxide, they are making food, they are respirating also, they are doing photosynthesis also. So if the leaves are removed, then only the roots will germinate first. The new plant grows from the buds, and the flowering plants such as rose, hibiscus, and bougainvillea can be grown through cutting of the stem. The stem cutting is shown in the picture. Similarly, underground stems such as potato, ginger, and onion have buds. These buds grow into new plants. All these plants can grow from seeds. As you can see, the potato having some tiny plant coming out. Okay, ginger also. These are all the example of stem. In onion also, this stem is giving rise to new leaves. Okay, so this is how it is happening. Then you have the growing plants from roots. Like stems, roots of some plants can be used for growing new plants. Roots of sweet potato, dahlia, carrot, radish, and turnip are modified to store food. New plants can be grown from roots of such plants. Then you have growing plants from leaves also. Bryophyllum is an example in which you will see new plants are coming out from the edges of the leaf. Okay, this is one of the example showing how vegetative reproduction can be done through leaves of a plant. Then we will study about growing plants from spores. Moss and fern, they have some spores. Why? Because they are not a flowering plant. They do not give any flower. They not even bear flower, so they don't give fruit or seed. So that's why they have spores in their leaves. And these spores are what? They are the tiny spots, tiny seed-like structure. And new plants can be grown from these spores. In fern plants, group of spores are found in the form of sori in the leaf. As you can see in the picture, it is shown. So this is what is given in your book, how to understand what is sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, the vegetative reproduction, fertilization, seed dispersal. And now let us do question answers of this chapter. Let's work and have fun. Tick the correct answer. Number 1, fertilization occurs, that is B part, after pollination. The ovary of the flower develops into a fruit. Okay, that is a fruit. Then pollen tube grows downwards into the style. Then plants like fern reproduce from spores. Then reproduction in bryophyllum occurs through leaves. Fill in the blanks. First, female gamete is present inside the ovule. Number 2, coconut is dispersed by water. The ovule inside the ovary develops into seed. Then number 4, wings and hair are found in seed that are dispersed by wind. Seeds of pea and poppy gets dispersed by explosion. Okay, so these are the some of examples. So let's understand example number 1. Plants that can be grown from roots: dahlia and sweet potato. Number 2, seed dispersal by air: cotton and maple. Seed dispersal by animal: guava and tomato. Plant that can be grown from stem cutting: rose and hibiscus. So these are the questions given in your book. So we will do together with the give reasons, but before that let us do true and false. Number 1, potatoes grow underground and new plants can be grown from its root. Is it true? No, it is false. Potato grow underground, okay, and potato in itself is a stem, okay. All seeds grow immediately when we put them on soil. No, it's false. Seed can only germinate, they can grow only if they get proper nutrition, proper condition for growth. Number 3, plants scatter their seed for proper growth. That is true. Number 4, fruit and seed formation occur after fertilization. Yes, this is true. So after this, let's move on to question answers and give reasons. Question number 1, define fertilization and discuss its process. The answer is the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is called fertilization. What is the process? In this process, first pollen grains germinates on stigma and develop a pollen tube which grow downward into the style. The pollen tube with the male gamete enter in the ovule in which egg cell is present. Finally, the male gamete fuses with the female gamete in the ovule. Okay, so separately also you will get these answers. Second question, describe dispersal of seeds through water and air. By water, the plant like coconut have fibrous coat on their seed, and lotus seed is spongy and light, so it is easy to be dispersed by water. Seeds of cotton and dandelion have hair around them. They are small and light, which helps them to be dispersed by wind easily. Question number 3, state 4 changes that occur in a flower after fertilization. The 4 changes that occur in a flower after fertilization are as follows. The sepals, petals and stamens fall off. The ovary increases in size and becomes a fruit. The ovary wall becomes the fruit wall. Inside the ovary, the ovules develop into seeds. Question number 4. How do new plants grow from stem cutting? Discuss with the help of an example. Stems having buds on them can be cut from the mother plant and planted after removing the leaves. Example are rose, hibiscus and bougainvillea. Can be grown through stem cutting. So this is answer number 4. Answer number 5. What are spores? Mention their role. Lower plants such as fern and moss have tiny seed-like structure on their leaf that produce new plants are called spores. Since moss and fern do not have flowers, fruits and seed, therefore spores help them to produce new plants. So this is what is given in answer number 5. Then you have reasoning. Give reason. Coconut trees are mostly found on coastal areas. Why? Because coastal areas help coconut trees seed to be dispersed easily by water. Seed dispersal is necessary for plants. Why? Because if they grow near the parent plant, then they will not get enough nutrient and sunlight for growth. Pollination is important before fertilization. Why? Because in pollination the male gamete is brought closer to the female part of a flower in the form of pollen grains. Until and unless it is done, fertilization cannot start. All seeds do not grow into new plants. Why? Because a seed grows into a new plant if it is properly dispersed and provided proper sunlight, water and nutrient. Okay, so these are some of the answers of give reason. Then you have draw and label a diagram to show the process of fertilization, which is given in your book. This diagram you will draw and label it and learn it. So I hope you will study well and take care of yourself.